Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for May 27th through June 2nd. And this week is about rewriting your story. We have Mars and Chiron making a conjunction in Aries. We also have Mercury and Uranus making a conjunction in Taurus, and some other things that we'll talk about that this week are really about rewriting or reframing the way that you're looking at things. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and I'm really excited to be able to share the astrology of this week with you from a psychological perspective. So the broader themes, the broader context of this week is that we are freshly in Gemini season. So we have the Sun in Gemini, we have Venus and also Jupiter in Gemini. And so Jupiter is freshly in the sign of Gemini as well. So there's this theme that we're continuing to explore this week, last week and this week, around curiosity and play and exploration and really questioning and looking at things from a multitude of different perspectives. And a part of this Gemini theme, this Gemini tone also is that these planets, the Sun, Venus, and Jupiter, are also making a square to Saturn. So there's a bit of grinding up against the limitations and questioning what our limitations and boundaries and responsibilities are. And so there's kind of this paradox, this complementary, I think it's complementary energy of the curiosity and questioning and dropping in from thing to thing and really looking at things from different perspectives. And then also, what is the reality of things? So the Gemini and then the Saturn as well. And I think it's also important for us to keep in mind that Saturn is at like late degrees of Pisces, and it will be retrograding back to about 12 degrees Pisces through the course of this year. And so Saturn is sort of hovering over this mid area of Pisces. And what this means for us is that we're continuing to look at the responsibilities and choices that we've been navigating and managing from, especially I think from March, April, May of this year of 2024. And so these are things that we're continuing to massage, that we're continuing to feel into. And I think this is important, especially this week, because this week we have a third quarter moon in the sign of Pisces with Saturn. So this third quarter moon is happening on Thursday, the 30th of May. And a third quarter moon is the point between a full moon and a new moon. So we had our full moon in Sagittarius last week, and so we're winding down from that energy. The third quarter moon this week, the emotional tone is about wrapping up, making peace, deciding on how we want to move forward with things. And it can be closure, it can be wrap up. It can also be taking stock of where you're at right now and how you want to proceed forward. It's sort of a moment of pause, a moment of reflection and consideration and contemplation, especially around how you are negotiating your energy and your resources. Now, also what's happening this week, of course, is Mars will make its exact conjunction to Chiron in Aries. And so Mars has been moving in this direction. This is something that we've been feeling into over the course of the last couple of weeks where, and I'll also say the North Node is there in this place as well. So we have North Node, Mars, and Chiron all in this place. And Mars is about sharp, quick, direct. I think sometimes Mars can be precise, but it's like focused. It's like, okay, there is a direct execution of something. And in this case, I think it can possibly be a sharp, quick, or direct execution of healing, of moving into the vulnerable, of moving into something that has been difficult or tender or a little sticky, or something that just sort of feels like it's been difficult to figure out in some way. And I'm saying this because these are all Chiron themes. Chiron is about our healing process, our healing journey. It's about the ways that we sacrifice something for our well-being, how we decide to sacrifice, how we decide to find healing. And as I work with more and more clients over time and look at more and more charts, I'm starting to realize that Chiron is a symbol of the spiral healing journey, the things that we look at over and over again, and that we look at from different perspectives. And so I think this week in particular, there might be something around healing and Mars issues, such as boundaries, taking actions, being direct, being indirect. And I think, yeah, okay, this is also what I wanted to say too. So when we think about Mars and we think about, I think about boundaries. I think about boundaries also, but I think Saturn is more about the quality of boundaries when we're speaking of a limitation, something that where there is a barrier or a containment or a constriction of something, and that can feel supportive in a Saturn kind of way, and it can also feel oppressive in a Saturn kind of way. Just depends on how we feel about the pressure that is being exerted, or the responsibilities, etc. And then Mars is more about boundaries as a defensive system. And when I say defensive, I mean as a protective system or a protective structure. Mars is about defending, advocating, keeping things out, keeping things in. It's about protecting something that is vulnerable. And so I think this is like really, there's something here around looking at a boundary as something that you do for you. And I think that often we can think of boundaries as we're like exerting a boundary so that someone will change their behavior. And that's not, unfortunately, that's not really the way that boundaries work. We have a boundary for us, and a boundary is, when this person does a certain kind of action or behavior, that has an effect. There is a result from that. And that my boundary may be when someone talks to me in a certain kind of way or acts in a certain kind of way, that then they no longer have access to be in contact with me. And that's my boundary. And that boundary is not made, like in my best self, I'm not expecting them to respond in a different kind of way. That's not what that's for. What it is for is to protect me from receiving the kind of treatment or experiences that I do not want to receive. And so I think like it's really important here with Mars and Chiron to think about the boundaries that we set as something to protect us rather than something to control other people's actions or feelings or behavior. And also, you get to have your feelings about the way that other people are acting and feeling, etc. And so there's kind of this quality of how do you protect yourself when you feel vulnerable? How do you protect others who are vulnerable or marginalized? How do you advocate in the way that you can, in the way that you have power or control over a situation? And I think also themes around fear and safety. And I think, of course, this can apply to physical fear and safety, but I think this also psychologically can apply to feeling emotionally safe. And are there situations where it feels like there is something possibly that doesn't quite feel emotionally safe or secure? And what do you need in order for something to feel safe for you? So I think that Mars and Chiron and the North Node together, there can be a quickness of the experience, or things feeling like they're sharp or cutting, and so or prickly. And so I think it's important to look at if something feels like it is too much, too fast for you, and honoring your experience of whatever that is, and then taking care of yourself, tending to the sensitive, vulnerable places inside of you in the way that you need, and that's going to change over time as well, and that it's a part of this constantly circling back to the tender, vulnerable places inside of you that that need care and attention over time, over the lifetime. Okay, so I think there's a big part here around creating the life that is good for you. Not the life that you think that you should have, or that someone else tells you that you should have, but like really, what is it that you need in order to be strong and healthy, and to feel protected. And then a part of that also, that the other piece of the astrology this week that really connects into this, is that we also have Mercury conjunct Uranus. And Mercury is the mind and the thought process. It's the part of us that thinks linearly and logically, but also the part of us that is able to think symbolically and metaphorically, and to notice synchronicity, and to have a sense, this feeling of when something happens in your life and there's a feeling of importance to it, there's a synchronicity to it. This is all Mercury territory. And so I think that Mercury helps us make sense of things. Mercury helps us to figure out the facts, the logic, the chain of events of something. And then I think that Mercury also helps us to narrate our story. Mercury is that function where we're like, okay, like this is what has happened to me, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. And we all have these scripts and these storylines that that sort of get like rooted into our psyche, in the way that roots grow down into the soil, or the way that water creates a groove through a rock. And so when we have Mercury conjunct Uranus, Uranus is about flipping something on its head. It's about, doing a cartwheel, jumping off the cliff. It's about totally radically changing the perspective. It's about looking at things in a very different way, in an unconventional way. And I think that there's a possibility for having unconventional ideas about awakenings or insights, or anything that brings new vision into your life. And so, of course, this is going to impact all of us in different ways and different intensities, depending on how this particular piece of the sky is keyed into your particular birth chart. So for some folks, it might feel quite striking. For some folks, it's going to be a little more subtle. And I think that especially now, these are moments in time where we can look at synchronicities, anything where there's an external event that links to an internal experience, and there's a feeling of something is important there. And it can be something as simple as you say something and then there's a dramatic sound that happens, whether it's a crash or you hear a cat meow or something like this. And, what was that you were going to say, or what were you thinking about? These kinds of things are very subtle information from the unconscious. It's that the unconscious is not just inside of you, it's also around you, and it's participating with you. And when we have Mercury and Uranus, it reminds us that we can include all of this, that everything is sacred, that everything is in communication, and we just need to open our senses to it. Now, so we have this moment here where there's kind of this awakening, and I think that we can just notice maybe where there is a reframe of a situation or a rewriting of a story. And it could be something big, like a big part of your identity that you want to look at, like retelling this. My hope for you is retelling your story for yourself in a way that is centering your power, that is empowering for you, that is enlivening for you, that helps you to feel like you're able to express and live your life in a way where there's more ease and flow and grace to it. And then we'll have Mercury move into Gemini next week, and Mercury will join Sun, Venus, Jupiter, etc. And so we kind of had this moment of like breaking something open this week and shifting something around at a logical, analytical level. Now, I also want to mention that with Jupiter being in Gemini, it is making a trine to Pluto and Aquarius. And so this is a helpful and subtle, soft aspect. So trines are where something is in the same element. So in this case, it's air. So Jupiter is at 1 degrees of Gemini, Pluto is at 1 degrees of Aquarius. And so this is really about expanding our capacity for intensity of experience. Jupiter is about expanding, and especially Jupiter in Gemini is about exploring all of the different possibilities, like really wanting to sample everything and to do it in a big way, and to do it in a way where there is, this play, curiosity, and then also furthering our ability to like really look at things from a broader perspective, but not just a broader perspective, but from a multicultural perspective, looking at things from many different contexts. And so Jupiter is really asking us to pull back the big view, the broad view, and to look at things from the perspective of other folks who have a different context than we do. And when it connects with Pluto in this way, Pluto is about intensity of experience. Pluto is also about healing. Pluto is about the places inside of ourselves personally and then collectively that maybe we push away or consider bad or not ideal, or that they the qualities that are other in some way. And that can be so we typically in psychology call this the shadow. And the shadow is just a name for unconscious material that has been really really pushed away, and that usually that's projected in some way onto other people. And those can be things that we don't like about ourselves or others, and those can be things that we exalt in others, that we're like, oh, that's so wonderful, that's not me. The thing with the shadow is it's always in some way a part of the self. And so I think with this Jupiter-Pluto, there is this reconnection with the self, in that there's possibly an opportunity for becoming aware of the parts of yourself that maybe you have rejected in a even in a minor way, something where you see something as, oh, that's how, that person is, and I'm not that way. Maybe you are that way, but in a different kind of way, or a construed way, or a subtle way. or maybe you're the polar opposite of that, but to an extreme level. I don't know. Everyone's different, the way that it works out. And so there's something here around discovering hidden parts of the self. And I think also Pluto being a symbol of intensity of experience, there can be a hunger for wanting to discover and explore and be curious, and a hunger for wanting to question things. So again, this is a softer and more subtle aspect. So unless you are having a Pluto transit or a Jupiter transit already, it may not be as intense for you. But I think that collectively we can all tap into this energy and really look for ways in which we can reclaim parts of ourselves. And I think with the Mercury-Uranus, we can question, oh, like this thing that I don't like about myself, why is that? Is that because I actually don't like it, or is that because I've been conditioned through maybe family system or through the culture, etc., to place a value judgment on that? Okay, so I'm going to pull some tarot cards for us, and so general themes to sort of pull things back in here is general themes this week are definitely around connecting with boundaries that are healing and reparative. And so connecting with ways that you can say, okay, like this is what's happening around me, and this is how I want to position myself to take care of myself. And then expanding your capacity for holding feelings and expanding your capacity for intensity of experience. Most certainly being curious, open, and exploratory. So when you start to notice a judgment about something, that something is bad or that something shouldn't be happening, as much as you can, when you remember, to be like, oh, like I'm noticing that I feel like this is really bad. I wonder what's going on there. And other themes are to look at how you tend to protect and advocate for yourself and others. And I also think too, with Chiron here, what is your relationship to being vulnerable? Being vulnerable versus being safe, and how does that connect with you? Okay, so if you haven't already, this is a beautiful time to, in this moment, find a place of connection to yourself, connection to your physical body, either through movement, maybe some rhythmic movement, or focusing on your breath, or any other sensations that you can experience right now, even if it's just focusing on the sound of my voice. And then letting your focus come into a particular place. Maybe that is the center of the heart. Maybe that's a feeling of the overall sensation of the body. And here in this place of connection with yourself, maybe there is an inquiry, or maybe there's even a message here, or a word or a symbol that comes to your mind. Okie dokie. So 3 cards here today. First card is the 8 of Pentacles. And so the 8 of Pentacles is, in this deck in particular, the figure is climbing up this, they're doing like a rock wall climbing kind of thing, and they have like their security straps on them, and their cat is like hovering, their cat is like a couple rungs above them, and in the bottom there's all of these crystals that are down at the bottom. So this card is about working towards something, working towards a long-term goal. It's definitely about putting in the practical effort towards something. Usually this is something that you've been working on over a long period of time, and it's about continuing that process of doing the things that you know that you need to do or that you want to do to achieve your goals or to become. This card is also like particularly like yes, about goals, but it's also got this flavor of becoming like a master at something, or becoming very skilled at something, or really honing your skills around a particular kind of area. And so I think that we can look at this as improving and refining your skills in your vocation. Of course, that's, I think, the most literal reason. But I think that we can also look at this as psychological maturity, or refining your skills with your emotional regulation, things like this. Like, we can also apply it to the inner work that we're doing. And so there is this thing, whatever it is for you, that you've been working on and that you're continuing to I think this card is a signal that you've already done a lot. Like, you're not, and it's funny because I will tell you in a moment what the next card is, but this card is like, you've already done a lot and there's still more to go. And this is really encouraging you to get better through practice, that like you're on this path, and that there is something here for you through refining your skills and becoming better through doing. So the second card, and let's go back to that in a second. The second card is the Fool. So it's kind of funny. We have this, like, you're on the path of your own development in some way. And I imagine you've been doing this for a little bit of time. And then we have the Fool as the second card. And the Fool is about the very beginning of a brand new journey. And it's not just the beginning of a brand new, what do I want to say here? It's like the beginning of a major journey, of an initiatory journey. It's not just like simply starting a new project. It's beginning a quest, essentially. And the Fool is also a symbol of taking a leap of faith, moving into the unknown, really feeling the Gemini energy in the Fool, because the Fool is about just going for it and having this playful, I wonder what's going to happen. Where am I going to go? What am I going to see? There is this, this innocence to the Fool, because the Fool, they haven't gone on the journey yet. They don't know this particular journey, at least. Like, they don't know, they haven't been weathered. And so there's kind of this, this sense of innocence and vitality and lightness to it. And so it's very curious to me that there's something here that you've been working on for a while. And then there's something new about it. There's something new that is coming in here. And I'm thinking with the Fool, I'm thinking about Mercury-Uranus, there's maybe something here, a new fresh perspective, or a new fresh energy, or a new approach that's coming in to something that you've been working on for a very long time. And the third card is the Queen of Wands, which is actually a really lovely card in this dynamic. So the Queen of Wands is about let's see. Okay, yeah, lots of different thoughts coming to my mind. So the Queen of Wands is about authority, empowerment, being bold, like doing what you want, saying what you want, and like that, especially coming from a place of creative expression. and having the freedom and the, like, there's also a theme for me too around with the Queen of Wands around self-esteem and self-value, and like knowing that what it is that you have to say and to do and to be, like, your being is a sense of inspiration, and there is something that is coming from you that is very important, that like there's this sense of regalness, this sense of empowerment when you remember who it is that you are, because the wands as a suit are about creative expression and excitement and passion, and the creative spirit, the vitality that we have. And when it comes through in the Queen, there is this sense of creation, creative expression, and the power that comes through creativity as a way of being, not to be productive or to accomplish or to have control, but rather to have an embodied sense of being. And that the Queen in the Tarot is about this quality of being versus doing, that there is value simply in your existence, simply in the way that you naturally, organically express yourself. And so yeah, okay, so I'm getting a feel for this now. Is that there's this thing around, you've been working on something, maybe you've been working hard, and you're like, really, you're doing it, you're trying really hard. And then there's something new that comes in. There's a new idea, there's a new perspective, there's a new maybe opportunity. And like, I think the Fool to me feels especially like Jupiter in Gemini, because this is a major arcana card, and so it's more about the big things in life. So it feels like that the Jupiter transit being this transit that will be happening over the next 12 months. So it's more of a long-term kind of situation. So I think there's something here around what it is that you're working on, your long-term goals, that there's something here where there's a new, fresh energy or vibe that's coming in. And if I'm correlating this to Jupiter and Gemini, that it's not necessarily confined to this particular week, that this is maybe a long-term thing that's going to continue to unfold. And so I think even more important to notice what you're drawn to this week, what you're interested in, what dreams are you having. Write down your dreams, explore them, chew on them, think about them, see what comes up. And then through this process of taking a different path, taking a new path, exploring something new, that there's a sense of empowerment that comes in via the Queen of Wands. And there's a sense of reconnecting to your creative spirit. Not that you need to be an artist or that you need to create art, but the creative spirit as in a vibrant and revitalized way of living that comes from the inside out versus, I should do this and these are my responsibilities. More, it's like, this is what I'm called to, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I love to do, this way of being. All right. So I hope that this was helpful for you. This is what I have to say about this week. As always, I'm so curious about how things are going for you, what you're feeling, how you are experiencing this astrology. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and it's always my pleasure to share these astrology forecasts with you. I work in private practice as a psychotherapist, where I offer depth-oriented psychotherapy with astrology. And if you're interested in learning more about me and my work, you can find me on my website, theastropsyche.com. I am sending you so much love and wishing you a super smooth and easeful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.